Well, today we're going to talk about some plants that you can grow in some very cold zones to give you some year-round greenery and also to plants that'll come back in some very cold zones. And we're going to concentrate on zones 5 and up. And so we're going to go by some of the cold hardiest things that you can put out that are tropical looking, or at least give a tropical and evergreen appearance. And the first thing is probably not really considered a tropical plant, but I got an idea for these when I was in Florida, and I saw a lot of people planting these different ferns with their palms and different things. And so this here is one of the most cold hardy ferns you can get that stays evergreen year round. It's called a Christmas fern, and these survived here even in the planter at -1 Fahrenheit and didn't hurt them at all. They die back a little each year, and they come up with new leaves every spring, and they do great, and they're great for putting in kind of a partially shady spot. And these are cold hardy from zone 3, and you heard that right, zone 3 through 9. So they're going to take the place in our garden as the cold hardiest thing that we can come up with to give us a little greenery and tropical flair. I'll show you how they look under some of our palms here. And here we have the ferns under some of our palms. You can see as long as they get some shade, they do okay, and they like some well-drained soil and shade. And that just gives you an idea of how you can plant them under some of your palms, and that way you will, when you're looking out in the wintertime, you'll see some greenery out in your garden and it won't be so dull. And you know, they make great little plants. They take a couple of years to get established and get pretty big. But we'll move on to the next plant on our list. And the next plant on our list is bamboo. Bamboo is great for adding a tropical flair to your garden, and there's quite a few bamboo species that can be grown in zone 5 and up. We'll talk about a couple of them here. I have a couple of videos if you want to look on how to put some of your bamboo in pots. One of the best cold hardiest running bamboos is bassetti, and bassetti is cold hardy down to -10 at least. And if you're in a colder zone or whatever, sometimes it might be killed to the ground and will come back from the ground. But bassetti is very cold hardy, and if you want to plant running bamboo, you need to take some precautions because it'll go all over the place. But there's also Fargesia, which is a clumping bamboo, and it's also hardy to zone 5. And so bamboo is an excellent choice as long as you are careful and know what you're getting into with the running bamboo if you plant something like this bassetti. But I always keep these in pots. Anyway, that gives you another thing for zone 5 and up. Next thing we have here is hardy hibiscus. These are a little different from the tropical hibiscus. They have bigger leaves, and the way to tell them apart from a tropical hibiscus is the tropical hibiscus have shiny leaves, and they usually have brighter colored blooms. But these hardy hibiscus, they are super tough, and they can be grown at least down to zone 5, maybe even colder and come back, and they make a good tropical looking extra plant for your landscape. And they have some reds, pinks, and I think even you can get some bluish color blooms now. And so these are very tough and will come back. They come back a little late each year, so don't think it's dead. It has to get pretty warm. Ours here in Tennessee are just now starting to come up. This is one we purchased new this year, so it's already up big. But this is another very cold hardy choice for your garden. Next on the list is one I don't have in the garden anymore because I ran out of room for them. They get really large. Is a hardy banana, Musa basjoo. These bananas, they're hardy from zone 5 through 11. And most people don't think that they'll come back. But the trick to getting these, like the bananas and some of the different things come back, is to get the corms on them, the bulbs very large, and get them real established. Some people put mulch over them and then put a tarp over them, but surprisingly these bananas have been reported in very cold areas, even zone 5 and up. I think they're even listed for zone 5 and up on the to come back, but they will come back for you as long as you get them good and healthy during the year. So you want to put them out during spring and get them big, fertilize them good, and then in winter they will come back next year. You need to get them, like 8 foot tall, and have a few pups that are 3 or 4 foot tall to make sure they're going to come back if you're in a really cold zone. But if not, you can also take some extra precautions, put some mulch over them, keep that dry by putting a tarp over that. Some people put hay bales around them, put a tarp over that to keep them a little warmer, but they'll come back for you. You chop them down in the winter time about 6 inches or a foot tall, or you can keep them a little taller if you think you can keep them warmer. And but anyway, the hardy banana is one of the most tropical, best things you can put out in a cold area and want a tropical feel. Next up, which is a very good choice for your tropical looking garden and for cold zones, is canna. Canna are much more cold hardy than most people realize, and I think they're listed usually as zone 7 and up, but in zone 5 you get these established. You have some really good odds of getting them to come back. Zone 6, they're probably going to come back for you every year. Of course, everything's always subject to your local conditions, but I've heard numerous people that get these to come back in zone 6, and even lately zone 5 people without much covering. You can cover them with a little mulch, 6 inches of mulch, which will help them. But these here are Trachycarpus, which is one of the most tropical looking plants you can get in the canna variety to put in your garden. They're also called, I think, phasian, and most of your canna get anywhere from like 4 to 6 foot tall. There's some giant canna varieties that get 8 foot to 12 foot tall or more. And there's also dwarf canna, which are smaller, but if you want something for a really cold zone, you need these medium to large variety canna, and plant these a little deeper than normal, about 4 to 6 inches deep, and I think they'll come back for you. But canna are one of the best things that'll bloom all summer for you, and you'll be really happy. The only problems they have is they do have a little bit of pest problems with they have something called a canna leaf roller, which try to eat them in some areas, and some of the beetles and things like that, Japanese beetles, like them. But this is another great choice for very cold zones. And last but not least is in the cold hardiness scale, colder tropical gardens is colocasia. These are commonly known as elephant ear, and these plants, the ones you want to select for a colder area are something like a pink china is a popular one that's very cold hardy. This particular one is called Aloha. I think it's also called coal miner. And you want the green elephant ear varieties that produce the larger bulbs. They're the ones that are the most cold hardy. You want to stay away from the black color elephant ears or any that are super variegated like the mojito. Those are not as cold hardy as some of these greener type varieties, but these will come back in zone 6 probably for sure. And when you get them established, you can still mulch these if you want to, but zone 5, it's going to be a question mark. You can dig up some of them or whatever and put them in your garage or basement over the winter. But this is a very good choice for putting in pots, for putting in the ground for you, and they'll come back a lot better than you think. Everything in our yard came back after the most severe freeze we've had in 25 years. And we have these all over our yard, different varieties, and they came back pretty much without a hitch. And most of them are not covered, no protection here, and we had -1 Fahrenheit and 80 something hours below freezing. So they frozen solid, come back fine. But anyway, that's the idea of some of the plants that you can grow and that are very cold hardy and put in your tropical garden. And hope everybody's having a good day. And if you're in some of these cold areas, it's almost that time to plant these type plants. And so you can start thinking about it. Look at your last frost date and get out there and put some of these in the ground.